Welcome to episode 2 of Willapedia, the show where I will explain topics using Wikipedia as my only source. And the topic for season 1 of Willapedia is dogs.
Welcome to Willapedia. مرحبا بكم في Willapedia.
Welcome Willapedia.
Bienvenido a Willapedia. Witamy w Willapedia. Van harte welkom on Willapedia. Willapedia에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
Is Willapedia.
Hey, my guest today
Who the fuck is that guy?
is a wine expert and co-host of Live from the Red Lion,
Oh shit.
Mike Seiler.
Hey, what's up? I'm ready for Willapedia, and I'm ready to get into some good topics today.
Yeah, so speaking of the topics, what do you think about dogs?
I think dogs are great. I personally have 2 dogs. I like do at home, when I go back to Minnesota. I like hanging with your dogs. I don't know if we keep that private off the air. I don't know if Hazel's wants to be famous.
Oh, she's famous. She'll be a future guest.
I just said
on every
just said Hazel's name too. Yeah,
she'll be a future guest on every podcast where she's just barking in the background at nothing.
If you listen closely today, you all at home could probably hear it too. But I'm a fan of dogs. And yourself?
I'm also a fan, which is why that's the topic for season 1. Last episode, we heard about Laika. You know about Laika?
I don't.
She's a Soviet space dog, so look her up. She died. The dog we're going to be discussing today is Antis. So if you want to follow along, you can go to https for the safety // if you're reading in English .wikipedia.org/wiki, like the rapper, /Antis, ANTIS.
Wait, so is Willapedia just dogs now? Is that
for
kind
season
of the,
1? For season
for
1.
season 1 is the theme is
this
dogs.
is episode 2.
Okay.
And the pooches.
In the pooches. Anyways, we're talking about Antis, also known as Ant, which, as far as I know, we're talking about a dog and not the producer for the rap duo Atmosphere.
I guess I'll have to listen to find out. Maybe this would take a little spin.
Yeah, so Ant was born in 1939 and died in 1953 at the age of 13 or 14. Pretty good for a dog.
Yeah.
Not great for a human, but pretty good.
What kind of dog? We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
He received the Dickin Medal, which hopefully isn't some sort of bestiality prize. Too obvious. In 1949, from the People's Dispensary for Sick Animals for bravery in service in England and North Africa during the Second World War. He was a war dog. A real war dog.
So like a World War II war dog.
Yeah, he was a dog in World War II. So my question for my guest, Mike Seiler, is, should we use dogs as soldiers?
I don't think getting animals involved in combat is something we need to do. You hear all these like variations of people experimenting with animals, and you just feel bad. You feel bad for them. It's like, why do we have to get them caught up in our affairs? We're already corrupting animals enough as it is. But I'm gonna go with a no.
All right. So Wikipedia doesn't say anything about any of that, so I'm not really sure how to respond. But I do know to say that Ant's service he was also known as Ant, and his service began during the Phony War. You know what that is?
No, what's the Phony War?
That was the 8-month period at the start of World War II, during which there was only one front, and the UK and France declared war on Nazi Germany.
When was it?
It was at the eighth month period at the start of World War II.
Okay.
But there was only one front, like before it was World War II before it became World War II.
Yeah.
And the UK and France were fighting Nazi Germany. The owner was Václav Robert Bozdecht. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but Wikipedia
So, like,
doesn't
Czech?
wouldn't provide pronunciations, but good catch. He is a Czech air gunner who served as a member of the British Royal Air Force.
And back then, what was the country? I mean, this is a tangent, but
it was Czechoslovakia,
Czechoslovakia.
but
Okay.
he was. They don't explain it in Antis's article, but for some reason, this guy was a Czech person who was exiled for some reason and was fighting on behalf of the Royal Air Force, the British Royal Air Force, because like Hitler had invaded Czechoslovakia.
And he fled? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Bozdech, however you say his name, and Pierre Duval, French guy, I assume. Actually, he might have been Czech. I don't know. But his name's Pierre, so probably French. They were sent on a reconnaissance mission over the German front.
Reconnaissance.
Make a beat out of that.
Reconnaissance.
Reconnaissance. Could be a good hook. So they were sent on a recon mission over the German front in a 2-seater aircraft over France that was hit by anti-aircraft fire, and it crashed in no man's land between the French and German lines. Duval was injured in the crash, and Bozdech helped him to an abandoned farmhouse nearby, where he discovered... What kind of puppy do you think he discovered?
German Shepherd.
Wow, are you somehow reading my screen? You knew that guy was Czech. You knew it was a German Shepherd.
Is
That's
it
right.
a German Shepherd? I
Yeah.
just picture that to be a war dog,
That's very true. And in Germany, so
like that Steven Spielberg movie, War Dog.
that's gonna be the next episode. The puppy didn't like Duval, the French guy. He wasn't a fan of the French, but he did like Bozdech, the Czech guy. But Bozdech said he was worried about the dog, so he fed it chocolate, which is kind of funny because chocolate is toxic to dogs.
Oh yeah.
And then apparently the puppy wouldn't eat the chocolate at first, so he had to melt it down, and then the dog started licking up the chocolate, and then like he also went out. He said he found a frying pan, filled it with snow, and then melted it so that the dog could drink it, because there was like no food or water for this abandoned puppy.
Do you think Willy Wonka had a dog? Because that'd be like mortifying to work in that office and make sure he doesn't eat.
That's hilarious. Yeah, he's like, what? No. It's just like the most tortured dog of all time too.
Oompa Loompa is like
Yeah.
trying to save it,
Yeah.
and getting into all sorts of little kerfluffles.
Yeah, but apparently, Ant could survive on the chocolate, and the chocolate comes back into play later.
And did they name him right there?
No. He's unnamed German Shepherd puppy right now.
Okay.
So now this is what happens next: is they leave him in the house. After that, they leave little Ant in there, and then they realize they're surrounded by Germans. And so when they left, the dog started howling, and so they thought like he was gonna like alert the Germans to their position. So they decided that they were just gonna go back in and kill it. And so then they went back in, and then Bozdech apparently was like said he wanted to kill it in the most humane manner possible. So he was like grabbing a rock and was gonna just smash it on the head.
Okay.
And I think he didn't want to like fire a gun. But then apparently the dog heard something outside and started jumping at the door. And so like he said in that moment he couldn't bring himself to kill the dog, so he picked it up and put it in his flight jacket instead. Isn't that adorable?
Wow. So they were for sure surrounded by Germans. Were they just nervous that the Germans could be around them at any moment?
I think it doesn't say exactly in Wikipedia, but what it seems like is they crashed into
Just that no man's land. So
yeah, they crashed into no man's land, and then they heard like fire around them or whatever, and they like didn't know how to get out.
And after you crash, you probably have teams of people coming out looking for you.
People are looking for you, yeah, because they see a plane. You know, like the plane knows where they, like both sides know kind of where they landed. You know,
Yeah.
or the general area. So speaking of which, they escaped and they were discovered by French troops that were searching for them. Duval went to the hospital, and Bozdech met up with the other Czech airmen who were in exile with him. And they all played with the puppy. And they named him Ant after their favorite Czechoslovakian aircraft.
Is it called Ant?
Ant Boeing.
Ant Boeing.
I'm just kidding. I don't know what it's called.
So they got back to they got back to France?
Yeah, because it was
Okay.
on the French-German
border, and so
Yeah.
so they just were able to just walk back.
I think some French troops were searching for them, like you said.
Okay,
and they found them, came across them, and picked them up and took them back, to France.
And see, as you folks at home are noticing, that the great thing about Willapedia is, while I'm listening and I might miss a piece here or there, at home you can use the function on your iPhone to go back any step. If there's anything you missed along the way, just go back a few seconds, or send us an email, and one of us will help clear it up. Hopefully it'll be Will, because as you see, I missed that point.
And actually, I want to issue a correction as well, because when I originally gave you that link to read along, you're probably wondering, what the hell am I reading right now? I'm reading about a Lithuanian postmodernist rock band. This doesn't sound anything like a dog. Literally, Antis means duck in Lithuanian, but it's also a colloquial term for a false newspaper report. All right, anyways, let's get out of there. Disambiguation, and go to https://en.wikipedia.org/wiki/antis_dog . Front parentheses, dog, back parentheses. That should be the right page.
Willapedia.
So Ant lived with Bozdech and slept at the foot of his bed in a French airbase that was totally destroyed by a German bombing eventually. And then they went somewhere else. They went to 3 different air bases together. And then one day, Bozdech decided to take him up in a Potez 630.
Okay.
You know, that classic aircraft.
Yeah, it's almost as good as an ant.
Yeah. They took him on a combat mission. And then they said Ant wasn't bothered by Bozdech firing at the Germans.
Why did they take him up? Wait,
Because
why?
it was just became like his pet.
And so he just thought it was a good idea to take it along with the flight. It was just like a good comrade to
I mean,
have.
I get it, because speaking of Hazel, like, I take my dog sometimes on car rides when she
Yeah.
doesn't need to go. I'm like, come on. And, I can see, like, his job is to go shoot German people out of his aircraft. Like, why not bring the dog along,
Okay, I see.
Take it for a flight.
So just to kind of get it out and about,
Yeah.
like, so it doesn't. I see.
And it is interesting, because they kind of, like, mythologize this dog, too, because, like, it says that he wasn't bothered by Bozdech firing at the Germans, but in the last episode, I was talking about, like, space dogs who they measured their, like, stress levels, and when they were rocketing into space, like, the dog Laika's, like, stress was going out of control and was freaking out and stuff, which I can imagine, like, a dog in an airplane for the first time might be freaking out more than they thought it was at the time,
Yeah,
But
definitely.
either way, he made it through it. And then Duval recovered, the other guy from the crash, French guy, Pierre, good old Pierre. He recovered and he joined the trio again. And they started going on combat missions. So then during the Battle of France, Bozdech's squadron of planes was destroyed while they were all on the ground. And this is where I need your help, because my guest here, Mike, speaks French a little bit. Helps in the wine world. But they set off for some French city whose name I can't pronounce, but it's spelled Tours.
Oh, in the
T-O-U-R.
Loire. I think it's just Tor.
Tours. And then
Though, hey,
B-L...
for the record, my French is very is the word menial?
I believe it's Mignal.
I mean, my French is very poor.
Yeah. And then B-L-O-I-S. Blah.
B-L.
B-L-O-I-S.
I'm guessing that would just be blah, but
Yeah.
I don't.
So it's not
I've never
important.
heard of that one.
It's not important, but either way, they found a party. Oh, they found a party of people who were celebrating, like a party of Germans in a house who were celebrating the German invasion of France. And apparently they used Ant as a distraction somehow as they stole a cart for him, like with wheels, so that he could sit on a cart and they could pull him. But I guess he kept falling off the cart, and then everyone was telling Bozdech he should just kill the dog because it was like a nuisance. But he couldn't kill the dog, and instead he carried it. And then eventually he like won everyone over, and they all took turns carrying the dog over their shoulders as they were walking from like, because all their planes were destroyed.
Yeah.
So they had to walk to like a nearby city, and they carried the dog the whole way. What do you think about that?
Sounds like teamwork. Sounds like people who really care for this dog. It's probably heavy too, a dog like that.
Yeah, the German Shepherd.
I carry my dog. He's 12 pounds. My other dog, she's like 10. I mean, like, I pick him up. I'm like, pick him up, straight back down.
Yeah. So then eventually somehow they ended up on a train to some other city, Gibraltar, and Ant ran away one day while they were on the train, but like just to a different carriage, and Bozdech found him eating chocolate with a woman and her daughter.
Who likes chocolate?
Yeah, this dog. So maybe just because he ate, I don't know, like maybe he built up a tolerance or something. Or maybe they just didn't care back then. And
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe dogs have gotten more allergic to chocolate.
I wonder what it is in the chocolate. I feel like I've Wikipedia'd this. This could be an episode of its own, just chocolate and dogs. But I digress.
I know it's a no though. And then at one point on the train, they jumped off, like all the Czech guys, to attempt to milk a cow for the dog.
Just to get it some nutrients?
Yeah, because they had no food or anything for it.
Okay.
And then apparently they ended up having to barter with no, they didn't have to barter, but they convinced some locals that they needed milk for a baby, and they gave it to them. And then I guess like at like various towns, they kept hopping off and using that same excuse, like, we have a baby and we need to get it milk, and then they would give it to the dog.
Wait, so how much of this is the dog being a war dog versus a dog that just happens to be in a war scenario?
I mean, what's a war dog really?
Well, I think of we preface this with like how the military might utilize animals,
right,
maybe
like
to sniffle
well,
bombs
he gets to
or
that.
something.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're getting to that.
Okay,
but this is like the
this
origin
sounds
story.
This sounds like a
He's still
bunch
a
of
puppy.
people trying their best to not get killed while protecting a dog.
I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean,
okay,
yeah.
Which it's a great story in itself, but I was just wondering,
Yeah, let me speed it up a little bit.
No, it's not no speed needed.
Okay, it's kind of
I'm
just
ready
like,
for the whole story.
I'm building up the background.
Yeah,
it's kind of like, I mean, I'm just going in Wikipedia order. They do a great job. But he was just kind of became a pet of these troops, you know?
Yeah.
So
they've all
they're
grown
still
dear
escaping,
to it.
yeah.
They've grown dear to the dog.
Basically, the Germans are just rocking them and destroying them, and
Early in the
are
war.
like retreating, and they have a German Shepherd that is bringing them emotional support before emotional support animals existed. So they made it to Gibraltar, and then they were supposed to get on a ferry for England. But the guards said that they had refused a colonel's dog earlier that day, so they wouldn't let Ant on board. Bozdech got on the ferry and left Antis on the shore.
Really?
Yeah, and that's the last they ever saw him.
Really?
Yeah, no. That'd be hilarious, though. Although it doesn't.
I thought we had the guarantee that there's more to this.
Although it doesn't really get that much more interesting, so I'm just realizing maybe this is a bad topic. But I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
No,
just
this is a very interesting story.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I'm just saying. I was curious if they. I just want to hear how it goes.
Okay, so Bozdech got on the ferry and left Antis on the shore, and then he took a ladder down and called out for Ant, and the dog swam 100 yards, entire football field, to the ship. I wrote down parentheses, football field, baby. Oh, and there's my dog. And made it onto the boat. And they kept him hidden in the hold below the main deck.
That's great. I thought at first you were gonna hide him in a bag.
Well, we're getting to that.
Oh, shit.
You're nailing this. So eventually they were attacked by a German U-boat. You can let Hazel in too if you want, and then just shut the door again, and she can chill in here.
What? Yeah. Whatever.
If you don't mind, not to make you open the door, but come on in, Hazel. Can't do an episode about dogs without the dog in the room. All right. So they were attacked by a German U-boat, and while they were under attack, Bozdech stayed in the hold with the dog so that they weren't discovered. I think this guy just like wanted to. Now that you put it like that, you're like, yeah, it's just this guy who like he should have killed the dog with a rock.
No. I'm thinking it's definitely great to bring along your dog. I just think it's funny because I was picturing from the setup of this that this was some dog who would get into like war scenarios.
Especially
but it sounds like
Memorial.
Oh man, I just got to keep this dog alive and also keep us alive.
Yeah.
So it's a good story though of powering through for the power of your dog.
Yeah. Oh, and then during another all-out battle, Bozdech took ants to the upper deck, and they weren't discovered in the chaos.
Say that again. During a battle, they took him to the upper deck.
Yeah.
But just like, was it a battle on that same boat they were on at the time?
Yeah. Should we do a quick break? Pause for the ads.
Yeah.
All right. Let's take a break for the ads.
This podcast is brought to you by In the Vines. In the Vines, your favorite podcast for all of your wine news. Today, In the Vines would like to remind you of a beautiful wine, Nassau Sinomavro 2015. A delicious wine from Greece. On the nose, ripe berries, strawberries, specifically very light. Hints of kind of a jammy note to start. Almost a little like a gamay. We've got a little bit of earth on the nose and pine. But for the most part, it just has that kind of a little bit of overly kind of ripe fruit that you might get in a brand new open can of jelly or jam, specifically strawberry.
In the Vines. Sabella.
The acid's good. The acid's very nice on this. It's heavy. It's definitely one of the most defining features. The tannin is very minimal. It's a very kind of light mouthfeel, but the acid kind of is like really bites you and grips you. Similar to that of like a Barbera, but the Barbera would just typically carry a little more weight from what you'd expect. This is a great wine. I really like this. This is actually kind of reminds me the most of like a Gamay, but specifically like a Gamay from the Loire, where it's a little softer, a little lighter, but very, very along that tone. I mean, I'd give it a solid.
Rick Angelstrom is in the Vines right now.
We're going on a scale of 20. I'd give it a solid 14.5. We're doing 0.5 increments, you know. We'll just make that the standard starting today. 20 with 0.5 increments. $14.5. What's that? And that's our callback to Bud Light. Remember, when you're not drinking wine, make sure to drink Bud Light, brought to you by Anheuser-Busch.
And welcome back to Willapedia, episode 2. That was just a quick word for our sponsor, but we're going to get right back into it. about Antis, the war dog of war dogs. So, do you remember where we were?
Yeah, so
What do you remember?
Antis, well, first Antis was they were on the boat. And
Oh wait, hang on. Let me take a quick sip of my Naosa wine from Greece, I believe. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I remember, okay, so they were on the boat, and they were trying to hide the dog, but something else happened.
Okay, so yeah, they got to the UK. Oh, so they got on the boat, blah, blah, blah. Their boats kept getting destroyed. So then they were going, their ship got destroyed, the one that they were hiding him on, and then they were transferring to a new ship, and they decided they were going to put him in a bag, like you brought up earlier.
Okay.
But his head popped out while they were boarding. Classic. But the new crew was happy to have him.
Oh, they're like, oh, it's a dog!
Yeah.
Man, this is really world's funniest dog.
Yeah.
This is like, I think this is the next in the pooches.
Yeah. We're also brought to you by Live from the Red Lion with the classic segment in the pooches with the question, who's the funniest dog? So if you want more dog content, listen to Live from Red Lion. I'm just saying now, we're going full podcast network again. In the Points Baby was back. No, it's not. Anyways, so when they were about to arrive in the UK, though, Bozdech learned about the country's quarantine rules. Uh-oh. Another roadblock. He didn't have the money to pay it, so he tried to smuggle him into the UK. So they hid him in a bag, and they got him in.
Wow. I just think, like, this only...
Oh, wait. Can I say that again?
Yeah.
And then you can say whatever you were going to say. I just want to make sure I get this. So he didn't have the money to pay the quarantine rules, so they tried to smuggle him into the UK. They hid Ant in a bag and successfully got him in.
I just think each Willapedia brings something so unique and new because in the sense of, why is this not a movie?
I know. I was honestly thinking that. Someone wrote a book about it.
You should... Oh, they did?
Yeah.
You should... Okay. You should... I know somebody probably has more rights to it by maybe writing the book or even composing the Wikipedia, but you should just sell the Willapedia creative content and call that a thing of its own.
The first book to be... I didn't write this in my notes, but this is on Wikipedia. The first book to be written about Antis was Anthony Richardson's One Man and His Dog in 1961, although several changes were made to his story, such as Bozdech's first name becoming Jan. The airman had worked on the book with Richardson and was dissatisfied with the result. There was talk at the time of the book being picked up as a film by 20th Century Fox, but it was never made.
Yawn.
And I hope whoever's listening isn't yawning right now, because I got to pick it up.
I guess a lot of these, another thing, it makes you think, like, how many Wikipedia stories or just, articles in general make their rounds through an agent's eyes, through a producer's eyes, through a studio's eyes. I guess I will never know until I sell this.
Honestly, yeah. If you sell, yeah, let's say that. Because honestly, anyways. When France surrendered to Germany, Bozdech and Antis moved to England to join the number 311 squad. Do you know what their color was?
Their color?
Yeah, like the color uniforms that they wore.
Red.
Close. They were the number 311 squadron, and they wore amber uniforms. You didn't find that as funny as I thought.
No, that's good.
311
I'm
amber,
nodding.
But they didn't.
There you go.
Got it. Wrong place.
Right it out. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Willapedia. Willapedia is brought to you by
So that was a Czechoslovak manned bomber squad of the Royal Air Force. So is like all Czechoslovakian people in England. And in the Second World War, 511 Czechoslovaks serving in the Allied air forces were killed. Of these, 273 or 53% died while serving in Squadron 311. And Antis happened to be one of those members who survived. He went on some. This is where he kind of became a war dog, because he helped search for survivors during missions, and he got wounded in battle at one point. He took part in 30 missions and became a mascot for the squadron as well as their pet. So there's no like real notable, like, I mean, how much can a dog really do in war, you know?
No, exactly. And I mean, and to go
be
back
like
to my
search and
point
rescue.
earlier, like what did the war?
It's just
what
crazy
did
that the
war
dog
dog
survived.
do? Yeah,
you know?
it's amazing that they were so involved and survived through all of this. No, don't get me wrong. For the record, I think that's all amazing. I was just prefaced with the war scenario animals, but also it's like they are still a war dog.
Yeah. So
Just delete everything from me mentioning war dogs.
So Bozdech took him back to Czechoslovakia after the war, but then a few years later, the communists took over Czechoslovakia, and they started forcing all the former Western allies like Bozdech, who had supported England during the war, into exile. So he basically was trying to defend his homeland from the Nazis, and then did all this crazy shit, and then just to go back to Czechoslovakia to be kicked out again by the communists. Kind of interesting.
That's insane.
But he moved to England because he was like basically in the Royal Air Force, British Royal Air Force. But he had to escape Czechoslovakia on foot. And apparently Antis helped him escape as they navigated around searchlights and the fire from a fixed machine gun position. They crossed safely into West Germany.
That's insane, man. Now I have to read the book.
Yeah. And then in 1949, he got that Dick in Medal, which is referred to as the Animals Victoria Cross, or a hella prestigious award from the rulers of England.
Okay.
Yeah. Bozdech became a British national in 1951, 2 years later, and Antis lived with Bozdech until he died. The end.
Wow.
So yeah, any final thoughts?
It's a very interesting story, an amazing story, and shows the strength and resiliency of a dog and a dog's friend. They say dogs are a man's best friend. I should say dogs are a human's best friend. Just the phrase, just repeating it, but really, humans are dogs' best friend.
Now it's time for See Also. Dogs in every Wikipedia article has a See Also section, and this one is See Also: Dogs in Warfare and Popular Culture. And the subject today is what are you gonna plug? What do you got to plug?
I want to plug Nassau wine, delicious wine made of Sino Mavro. This is a 2015 we're drinking here today, and it's delicious. It's from Greece, and this wine is certified in the points.
And the See Also Wikipedia page is War Dogs 2016 film, an American biographical dark comedy crime film directed by Todd Phillips and written by Phillips, Jason Smilovich, and Stephen Chin, based on a Rolling Stone article by Guy Lawson. All right, that's all the time we have today for Willapedia, and thanks to my guest Mike Seiler. Thanks to the wine. Good night.